Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rallyware's Future Proof webinar series. We're going to get started here in just about another minute. Hello, everyone. Dan O'Mara here with Rallyware and co-member Rich here in the background to answer any Q&A questions that we have in and chime in as needed. So welcome to the Rallyware Future Proof webinar. And this is a new series of webinars that are specifically intended to drive deep into a specific topic that Rallyware happens to work a lot in and bring as much knowledge to the field as possible. So today's webinar is around onboarding. So we're very excited to have you here with us, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully you've brought your pen and paper so that we can have a good session. You can take a lot of good notes. There's going to be some good stuff to leave here with. So real quickly, Dan O'Mara, VP of Sales with Rallyware. I'm glad, again, that you're able to join. Quick background, been in direct selling for quite a while now, about 10 years, and primarily all on the supplier side of driving online activity. So, so we'll leave it at that. So, all right. So first of all, how do we future-proof our direct seller and specifically improving distributor onboarding experience? So first thing we want to do is, again, we want to talk about, today we're talking about future-proofing onboarding. But throughout the webinar series, you're going to see us talking about future-proofing, performance-based training, field engagement, leadership enablement, and incentives and recognition. You may see some of these throughout the conversation and through some of the presentation today, but primary focus is, of course, onboarding. So our goal for today is that everyone can leave with a framework to implement to implement the necessary framework to drive a proper onboarding program for your field. Now, today we're going to talk a lot about things that rely on technology. So we're going to talk through what technology you could possibly use, you know, in the case of whether you have a Rallyware system or you don't have a Rallyware system. But we'll talk through some of that today. So that being said, the biggest pitfalls in distributor onboarding. So first of all, information overload. It's an interesting, it's a catch-22. Sometimes we have enough, and sometimes we have too much. Especially now where everything is accessible online. You know, there's a tremendous amount of leaders out there presenting this great approach or this great approach or this group and this group. Tremendous amount of information can be very confusing for new distributors. Also, broken communications channels. This is important because, you know, in most cases, we're still relying on email. You know, and we're hoping for a 4 or 5% open rate, maybe in some cases. So again, we need to figure out this approach, and we're going to talk about this today. One size fits all onboarding processes. You know, again, it worked traditionally maybe because we relied a lot on our leaders to help us drive an onboarding experience for a consultant, and we were there primarily just to support, maybe with the hard documents. But times have changed a lot And now there's a lot more pressure on the brand, on the company itself, to help support that onboarding experience. Of course, long time to first win. We'll talk about that. No clear pathway to success, lack of feedback loop, and then lastly, how do we combat these negative reviews for our organization that are out there immediately? So again, we got a little uphill battle we have to climb right from the beginning. So most importantly, how are we going to do this? How are we going to develop an engaging onboarding program? So first of all, define our goals and our KPIs. This is going to be a very critical thing. Now, again, for today, we're talking about this, and again, you know, there's a lot of great thoughts and a lot of great things that can happen, but we want to start very, very, very small. So we want to start talking about defining our goals and KPIs. Maybe we're looking at, instead of talking about retention, something that's going to take time to measure, maybe we're talking about average initial order per person of an increase of, say, 10%, something along those lines. And then we're going to talk about segmenting your distributor base and the importance of this, developing this initial map of content, motivation, and activities. And then ultimately identifying this right tool to deliver onboarding, and then understanding industry best practices, launch, analyze, and modify. So it's kind of a framework for today. And define programs and goals and KPIs. Again, this can be very complicated or very simple. So let's try to keep it as simple as we can out of the gate if you are not using an external system. For those of you that are using Rallyware, then of course we've got different approaches towards that, to that approach. But again, keep it small. What does that mean? Maybe it's increasing in someone's first order, or maybe decreasing time to second order. Again, something simple that we can actually really try to accomplish. And again, we're in an industry of scale, so any little impacts can make a big impact to the bottom line. Identify improper or improvements and opportunities. Again, if we keep our goals and KPIs small at the beginning, it's going to be super helpful for us to be able to identify those opportunities. So maybe it's an increase in communication, but trying a different communications channel in that aspect. Determine key goals of onboarding program. Again, what are those goals? Identify the KPIs needed to measure those goals, and then assess available data and establish those benchmarks. This, interestingly enough, sometimes comes across as an internal issue for a lot of companies. And one of the things that we've realized is that there's a lot of questions that organizations are not asking internally, that if maybe they ask a different question, they can see things a lot better. So one of the things that we encourage our customers to do is to literally go to their analytics team and say, hey, if I wanted to increase average order value by 5%, how would you guys go about tracking that? And just that statement alone has really helped a lot of our customers get the necessary data, or the reports, or a dashboard, or something along those lines that really help them in that approach. Then we want to talk a little bit about segmented user bases. Now, these are just some examples, but this is going to really set up your onboarding experience to be the first level of personalization. So as we talk about future-proofing the onboarding program, as we know from most all other technologies that we have and news outlets that we go to, everything is pretty much already being personalized to the user, whether it's Facebook, whether you go to your Bing search engine or wherever, you're going to have personalized content for you. So it's already starting to become the absolute standards for operations. So segmentation is going to be very critical. Now, we're going to talk a lot about segmentation today. We're going to give some examples. We're going to dive into the platform and see that as well. But ultimately, what we want to really do is spend some time understanding those segmentation. And again, if you're not a customer in Rallyware, 1 to 2 segments, or sorry, 2 to 3 segments is more than enough to get you out of the gate and to start, we'll talk about it, adding context to some of the content that may already be out there. All right, now we want to get into this development of initial map of content, motivation, activities. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here. Based on distributor segments, again, we're talking like 2 or 3 segments. Maybe this segment is consumer. Maybe this is somebody that's just wanting to earn a little. Maybe it's somebody that's wanting to earn a lot. So again, maybe just those 3 segments, and whether we're asking that information, maybe during our enrollment process, is there a flag that we can attach to that profile from a simple question that we ask inside of our enrollment process? Is that feasible? Is there surveys that we can send out to a new consultant just to kind of get that information back and start to maybe assign some segmentation to that user base? And of course, as we go through this, so again, those 2 or 3 segments, and we want to support those with specific learning or communications. And this is where we start getting a lot into context. Number 2 bullet here, we talk about lining up in the industry best practices when it comes to learning and business activities. So if we're saying, hey, look, during the initial onboarding phase, we want to maybe give them some learning on company history. We want to have, and these are just standard, let's say, we're going to do like 2 learnings on company history. We want to do maybe 3 learnings on our top selling products. And then maybe we're going to do a little bit on compensation and how do we get paid. But if we know the segment of that group going into that content, we can set up the context of that content to be more personalized for that individual. So say, for example, someone says, hey, I just want to be consumer of this. Well, when they come in and they have this communication that says, hey, we're so excited to have you on board. We know you want to be a consumer. Please learn about our organization and how much we strive to ensure that our products are excellent. And of course, then it adds context to why am I learning about the company? Why am I learning about the products? And then, hey, look, we are learning about the compensation program because, again, it is an opportunity. But as we go through this and someone says, hey, I want to earn a little bit. And in that particular case, what's nice is that we can set the context, again, for them to consume those processes or that content. So now, in this case, it's, hey, look, we're here to back you up. We're here to support you through your journey to generate enough money to pay a car payment. So here, learn about our organization and why we're here to help you. And then, again, learn about the products. But again, the context is different now, and it becomes personal for that person because of the context to that content. So again, understanding what those best practices are, and we'll get into some of those here in just a little bit. And then number 3, we really have to share insights and activities with team leaders. Okay, we definitely, as we all know, we need their support throughout this process. But what's interesting is that can we bring them into the fold when we start talking about segmentation? Can we start then giving them reports of who on their team is just here as a consumer of product, or who here on their team is looking to earn X amount, so that they know maybe a little bit better on how to talk to them. Again, giving them context to those that are joining their teams. And then, of course, to kind of fight against long-term wins, you know, is there a way for us to establish some sort of rewards and recognition ecosystem that really helps drive those activities that we are looking for? So we're going to dive in real quickly into a couple examples of what this looks like. So first things first, we're going to log in. Of course, this is Rallyware. Pretty much everybody on the call, I believe, has already seen Rallyware. But when they come in, I want to take you through what an experience would look like. So in this case, we're going to start segmenting, and why this segmentation is so critical. So Liz here, she just joined. We're going to come in. She's going to start this activity, and we're going to give her the opportunity. Of course, she's going to watch this video and learn about the different options that are available. And she says, hey, you know what, this is great, but I'm really only interested in the product. So we click into, okay, I'm only interested in the product. Income goals, she's like, that's not for me. And I'm not going to spend any time working on this. So we know now this segmentation, this person. So now we're going to be able to craft this experience that's specific for her. And again, short wins, fun gamification. So when she enters the system again, she now has a very specific approach to her onboarding, which is products that you love and recommendations. Oh, based on a purchase or something along those lines. This is the recommendation we want to give you, recommendation. How to apply our skincare products. And again, utilizing some of that gamification approach, hey, you've unlocked a new product. So again, this may be a consumer, but they are completely engaged in learning about the products, and they have a very unique onboarding experience. Again, we're talking about future proofing, and that's our objective here. So let's take a look at another individual. This is Emmy. Emmy's coming in, and Emmy's saying, hey, look, let's define her success. And Emmy says, hey, you know what? I want to earn some extra money. So Emmy comes in and she says, I want to earn $500 a month. She expects to do it within 3 months, and she's going to spend, let's go 5 to 10 hours a week on this business. So again, based on that, again, same experience. She still gets the excitement message, still getting her motivated and excited. But now when she logs in, her activities, of course, are going to be completely different. Now it's how to earn money on products, know our hottest selling products, new product introduction. So again, the thought process here is that, you know, this may be the same for everybody that chooses that approach, but it's very, now it feels personalized to me because one, I answered some questions, I gave you something, and in return, you gave me something back that resonates with my answers. And the same thing with the consumer side of things as well. It would be really hard for her to come in and say, I'm not interested, and then all of a sudden there's all this information about how to start and how to run your business. So again, establishing this, this proper level of content based off small segmentation. Of course, we just use very small segmentation here, just 2. But of course, you know, throughout the process, you can get deeper and deeper with segmentation. And of course, you know, that's for further conversations. But the thought process here is that how do we make our learning for our new people personalized to them? And again, asking questions, giving something back that resonates with those questions can make a huge impact throughout that process. All right, so we'll jump back over. That is some quick examples. Again, that was pretty simple. And again, could be a flag in the back office that just says, hey, look, are you interested in being a consumer or you want to make money? And you can see how that approach could be utilized for that thought process. All right, so now when we start talking about the right tools to implement this, you know, we've done a lot of research. We've done, you know, we've got millions and millions of users on Rallyware's platform. And the important thing about that is that we learn a lot. And so we're able to set these benchmarks. So if you are looking for tools and you want to go down the learning route, which is something that could be fairly easy to do. Get in, and you can say, hey, look, I'm going to look at increase in sales productivity. Just so you guys know, the definition of what these numbers mean is sales productivity. And in this case, sales productivity is average order value times the frequency or the number of orders that somebody has. So when you look at learning alone, you can see an increase in sales productivity by those that engage by 8%. And that's a great number. For some organizations, that can make a massive impact to them. But when you start to bring them into learning plus, say, a business activity, so, hey, I want to learn about this product. Now, show me before and after photos of this product. Or, hey, I want to learn about this product. Now, practice talking about this product. That's when we start to see a bigger jump. We're talking about 14% increase in sales productivity. 35% increase when you start adding timing, again, using back office data to roll that out. And then, of course, 38% increase when you start adding learning plus business activities, timing, and social. Example would this be, someone on my team is $10 away from qualifying. Here is how you talk to them in a little video. And then maybe I set up a plan, and then I communicate with them right on a platform. So again, tying it all into one session, one user experience, and really kind of bringing that future-proof concept to full life. And you're talking about 38% increase in sales productivity, which is, of course, fantastic. So when we think about this as industry best practices, 3 steps: what to learn, how to apply it, and when do we actually need to engage that learning and actually apply it. So when we start thinking about our onboarding program, based on the goals that we have established, again, whether it's just increase initial average order value, decrease time to second purchase, reduction in time to first enrollment, whatever that goal is, then we're going to say, hey, what in there do we need to learn? Is it, do we need to learn some product knowledge so we strike an interest and then maybe somebody purchases that product? Do we talk about the benefits of enrolling people and maybe give some examples and talk through that? You guys are full aware of how to do that. Then it's how to apply it. And this is where it starts to get kind of interesting, because now we're saying, hey, look, for example, products. Let's say we're talking skincare. We have a product knowledge. Now, how to apply it. Now, tell us, give us feedback, how to apply it, maybe before and after photos. We want to get somebody engaged with that learning or that engagement as deep as possible. And then ultimately, of course, when do I engage this? So, if we're talking about reduction of time to second purchase, if we know that the average from first order to second order is 90 days, well, maybe at day 45, we start maybe triggering some sort of communication. Again, try to find an alternate area than email. Maybe there's a tremendous number of platforms out there, Rallyware being one of them, that can help with internal communications, team member to team member, or company to team member inside of that platform. But when to engage? So at that 45-day mark, maybe now we are talking about new product, or we're talking about their other product is being consumed up. So we need to re-trigger that to reduce that time. So again, when to engage. So again, what to learn, how to apply it, and when to actually engage with that. And finally, we get into this bottom part here, which is really launch, analyze, and modify. If you can't track it, then you can't impact it. So launch the onboarding program with a test group, as we know, and we've talked about probably in previous calls. But if it's feasible, let's test with that small group. analyze when they go live. What does that look like? And it gives our data center and our analytics guys maybe a little bit easier job to kind of chew off smaller bits of groups of data and really kind of kind of gets them on your side a little bit for the longer term run of that. Okay, and then we want to start to really analyze weekly, monthly, first 30-day sales. We talked about first 30-day recruiting, but which segment is higher performers? If we do have more than, say we do have consumer segment and we do have, that person that wants to earn just a little bit, who actually does a better job of purchasing product? What best practices can we learn through analyzing it from one versus the other that we can share with each other? So it's good to have those two different segments to compare those against. And then, of course, onboarding, program participation, that type of stuff. Modify, analyze, and then constantly repeat. So this is where you might say, and again, this happens to be inside of Rallyware, login activity, number of activities started, completed, badges earned, and then KPIs throughout that process. So does segmenting audience, providing this, does it really work? Yes. So as you look at, future-proofing your onboarding program, working on segmentation, understanding the group of people that you're going to really impact and help, it's good to know what the data looks like so that you can get buy-in inside of the organization. So this is across Rallyware customers. Again, it's quite a few users, upwards of over 5 million users that we get to analyze. So we normalize sales productivity on the left. Some companies look at points, some people look at qualifying volume, some just look at revenue. So we try to normalize it. And then you can see here before a onboarding program and then after onboarding program. Talking about 70% increase in sales, and also we can see the same increase in number of orders. So again, it's very powerful to say, hey, look, onboarding, okay, this is great, but how does it actually impact our bottom line? So this is some examples here. Then we'll talk about what happens after onboarding, and again, stay tuned. We've got some other future-proof webinars that will take us through those areas that we talked about as well. But what does it really look like? So again, these are group-to-group comparisons. So maybe this is not just onboarding. This is also just an overall adoption. Blue is the average sales of those user groups before they were given the ability to be segmented and getting personalized content. And of course, user activity inside of the Rallyware platform. But what I wanted to kind of point out really here is that as people are more engaged in personalized content, of course, their sales are going to increase. But if you take a look at what the average sales of those individuals were previous to that activity, you can see they were all pretty much about the same, same numbers. But when we start giving them really personalized activity, they feel more connected, more involved, because it is personalized to me. The activities, whatever those may be, onboarding, post-onboarding, whatever that looks like, they're very specific to me. So they're engaged and they're driving that those massive increases in sales, as you can see here. So again, we're talking about future-proof of onboarding, and it's important for you to understand what the data looks like for onboarding and then post-onboarding as well. Of course, there's some others on, and this happens to be for parties, number of recruits. Again, as people engage with more personalized content, they become more bought into the organization. And as you can see here, recruits drive up, per 100 users, and the amount of parties conducted drive per 100 users as well. So I'm going to kind of stop right here, jump over to Q&A, and it looks like, Rich, thanks so much. It looks like you got some there. But we wanted to thank everybody for jumping in on the deep dive today. If you have any questions post this webinar, please feel free to reach out to, of course, myself, Rich, whoever you're already talking to, and we will answer all of those questions for you. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Please stay tuned. We'll send out a notification when our next future-proof webinar series comes into play. Thank you very much for joining.